You could say I was in for a rude awakening when I turned on my PlayStation 4 today. But in all seriousness, I had no idea that DLC 1 for Call of Duty Black Ops 3 was already here. To be perfectly honest, I didn't even buy my season pass yet. But once I found out the news, I jumped on the PlayStation Network, coughed up my $50, and then got on the Awakening playlist. In this mini-series, I'm going to be giving you some tips and tricks on these 4 multiplayer maps. I'm going to be recommending some weapons, some perks, and some specialists, and more. I hope you enjoy. Welcome to the second episode in my Call of Duty Black Ops 3 Awakening DLC Map Recommendations mini-series. Wow, what a mouthful. If you haven't seen the first episode on the Splash map, make sure you check that out by clicking on the card in the top right corner of this video or the first link in the description. Now, that one we talked about using a shotgun and swimming in-game, which is crazy because I'm totally against swimming because it usually gets people killed, and all kinds of crazy stuff. Now, in this video, we're talking about Skyjacked, and it's actually going to end up being more of a complaint video than a actual recommendations video, so I hope you're prepared. I am totally against this map. I don't like how they can rebrand maps like this and include it as a quote-unquote new map that we have to pay for to get access to. I think that remade maps or re-stylized maps like Hijacked into Skyjacked or Nuketown into Nuketown, Nuke 3 Town, it should all be free. If they're just remaking a map, that should come free of charge. We shouldn't have to pay for that. I want to get 4 brand new maps when I pay $15 for a map pack. So that's just one thing that I'd have to get off my chest before we keep going. I'd like to talk about 3 major things in the map itself. One issue that I find about the entire Awakening DLC, and then we're going to recommend a couple weapons. So strap in, we're going to get going. So the first thing I want to talk about is how this is actually a little bit larger than Hijacked. I do believe that the Black Ops 2 map was a little bit smaller than this. I think it's the same proportions, except it's scaled a little bit larger. So the open areas, they seem a little bit wider. The lanes on either end of the boat, or the helicarrier in this instance, they seem to be longer. Like, it seems like it's just scaled up a little bit just to make room for the advanced movement in this game, the speed at which you can travel in this game. Maybe it's just because it looks more realistic. Maybe it's because it's higher definition. Maybe it's just because it's a new game and I haven't played Hijacked in forever, but it definitely feels larger than Hijacked ever did. The second thing I want to talk about is that hole in the wall right there, and that entire lane of the, I guess you could call it the glass panel lane, because it used to be a row of glass panels that you could run across to get to the other end of the map. That entire side of the map is a complete death trap now. You cannot go on that side of the map if you plan to live more than a couple seconds. And why is that? That is because the entire area is just a camper central. If you go out there, there's almost always a person. I got lucky in this gameplay. There wasn't that many people because we were playing Safeguard, but there's almost always a person standing at the end of that lane, at the end of the glass panels, behind one of those boxes shooting at you. And if you get up on the wall and you're wall running and somebody pops out of there and starts shooting at you, you're dead. If somebody tries shooting at you and you try to run on the wall and then jump into the hole, you're dead anyways. If you try, and even jumping into the hole itself can actually be very deadly because it takes almost all of your boost to jump into that hole. And if you boost too much, or if you boost a little bit off in the wrong direction, you could completely waste all your boost and fall off the map, resulting in your death. You could boost into there and there could be a friendly or an enemy standing there and you could hit them and fall off the map. The entire area is a death trap, and I would highly advise that you just completely avoid the glass panel section now. In fact, I would rather just stay on the underside of the map, which seems kind of contradictory because that is actually an area to access the undercarriage of the map, but I would stick to the traditional ways of accessing the undersection, which would be the 2 spawn houses. So in each house there is a ladder that goes down. Unfortunately, the ladder that actually goes down is boarded off now. So basically, you cannot use the ladders to go in and out of the undersection of the map. And that's the third thing that I want to talk about this map. So it's kind of strange and it's kind of stupid, but every single ladder on this map is like blocked off, so you basically have to boost in and out of the lower section of the map. So when you're going down or when you're going back up of those two lower of the entire under section, you're going to be giving off where you are, basically, because you're going to be making noise with your boost, and you're going to be putting yourself on the radar unless you're using blast suppressor. Now, I recommend blast suppressor anyways, but there are a lot of people that don't use blast suppressor, and you're going to get caught if you try and get into those undersections, or if you even think about flanking the enemy at all. You're going to get caught trying to go into those undersections without blast suppressor. So this map requires blast suppressor. It's not an option, it's a requirement. If you want to live on this map, you better be using blast suppressor, because you will die. And that goes for getting into the second stories too. That ladder right there and the ladder on the other end of the map are both boarded off as well. So you have to boost to get into the second areas or take the stairs. So basically you need blast suppressor or you will probably die in this map. It's just like a given that you will die. You can't just climb up the ladder like an old Joe Blow. You have to use your thruster pack to get into the higher areas, which is really ridiculous. I think it's stupid that they took that out, because the ladders provide a stealthy approach that a person without blast suppressor could use, but now it's like, nope, you have to use blast suppressor. That's the end of this discussion. Too damn bad. So just use blast suppressor and you'll be happy. Now, the one thing that I want to talk about the DLC in general is the Awakening playlist. And the Awakening playlist has has all the maps and it has a bunch of different game modes, but the problem that I found with it is that if you're buying the Awakening playlist, I hope you like Hijacked or Skyjacked or whatever you want to call it, because the second that the Skyjacked map will appear, everyone gets all horny and they start voting it up, and it will be the only map that you play for the rest of that lobby. In every single lobby that I got into where Skyjacked appeared, people would just vote for previous, vote for previous, vote for previous, and I would play Skyjacked about like 6 times in a row. I've only played about 10 games total of the new Awakening DLC, and about 6 of those have been Skyjacked, because I got into a lobby where they just kept voting Skyjacked in, kept voting it in, kept voting it in, and it's absolutely just the most annoying thing ever, especially because I don't like the map Skyjacked. So if you like Skyjacked, Awakening is for you. If you don't like Skyjacked, well, I'm very, very sorry, but you should just stay away from the Awakening playlist for now. Wait until the maps actually get into the full rotation and then play the game, because it's just like, they might as well have called it DLC 1 Skyjacked plus 3 other crappy maps that nobody cares about, which is kind of sad because I like 2 of the other maps. One of the maps is just awful, but I like 2 of the other maps, and when you get into the Skyjacked frenzy, it's just ridiculous. I just don't like it. Maybe they should make a Skyjacked 24/7 and like dial it down in the DLC Awakening playlist, but I don't know how they'd enforce that, but it's just something that we have to live with. Well, it's something that the people that don't like Skyjacked have to live with anyways. I know that a lot of you guys do like Skyjacked, and I apologize if I'm ripping on it a little bit, but I mean, I'm just fed up with remade maps. I don't really appreciate that. I don't think it's really worth it too much. Like, remade maps should be free, and we should get 4 brand new, never before seen maps with our DLC purchases. So that's about it for this video, guys. I didn't really get into the recommendations. There's nothing really to say about recommendations. I mean, you've all probably played this map before. You want SMGs, fast-paced weapons, shotguns. I'd recommend Overdrive for running across the map at high speeds and getting into the enemy spawn. Make sure you try and get into the enemy spawn like in that ZDF kind of area right there, or into the boat area on the other side. I don't know if there's actually boats there anymore. There was boats there when it was Hijacked. But those 2 areas are going to be great for getting like multi-kills and kill chains and stuff, because the enemies have nowhere else to spawn on this map but right in front of you. So try and get into the enemy spawn a lot and just hammer them with high-powered, fast fire rate weapons. Use SMGs and shotguns, close range stuff, and try and flank around the enemy and get in behind them a lot. So those are the recommendations. Most of this video was just a big complaining video, but I'm sorry about that. I can't stand this map. I hate to tell you, but man, I'm going to be happy when DLC 2 comes out and we can get away from this Hijacked crap. Thanks a lot for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, make sure you hit that like button. Make sure you check out the first video in this mini-series, which you can access by the card in the top right corner or the link in the description. The next video is coming out very, very soon.